Hi guys, so today's video is another on my shelf video. I have done one of these before and I'll link that in the description box, but if you're not familiar with the concept, basically it's a video in which I went on Twitter and I asked for two sets of numbers. One number between 1 and 14, which is the number of bookshelves I have, and one number between 1 and 40, which is the largest number of books I have on any one bookshelf. Using those sets of numbers, I have come up with 7 books that you guys chose but didn't know you chose, and I'm going to briefly talk about them. I did not come up with this video concept, and I will link the original video down in the description box as well. So the first set of numbers I was sent was 3 and 18 by Sana at Books and Quills, and that is More Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops. This is the second instalment in a series, the first book being Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops, and it is essentially just a collection of small conversations, sentences, questions, anecdotes that sellers have overheard or participated in bookshops. This book is chock-a-block with laughs, as is the first one, and I highly recommend them. I think it makes it even funnier that these are genuine anecdotes, although it's sometimes a little bit disheartening as well to know that people have actually said these things. They're put together by the wonderful Jen Campbell. I was then sent the numbers 9 and 39 from Robert at Roberto, and that was Cardcaptor Sakura. This is the Clamp Omnibus edition of this manga series, volume 1. It's just collected together the first 6 volumes of this manga. I still haven't actually read this bind up yet. This was one of my all-time favourite cartoons and animes as a child. I'm sure lots of you will have seen it. It was dubbed over in English, so it was on mainstream TV, and I just loved it so much. I really want to read the original, as I've also watched the original Japanese version of the anime with subtitles, and there's some variations there, so I'd love to read the manga and see how it differs, and also just get back into that world because it was such a wonderful story. Card Captors of the Cloud, expect the unexpected now. A really good theme tune. I then received the numbers 7 and 12 from Marina at AMK Shift Library, and that was The Murder in the Rue Morgue by Edgar Allan Poe. Now this edition is actually a bind up of 3 stories by Edgar Allan Poe and his detective Dupin. Now Dupin is a French detective, and he is actually responsible for having inspired Sherlock Holmes. When I was in my final year of secondary school, I wrote my advanced higher English long essay on Edgar Allan Poe's narrative style in his Dupin stories and its influence on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's narrative style in Sherlock Holmes, and I was introduced to a whole other fantastic world with an amazing detective. Now what I'm talking about when I talk about the narrative style is that Edgar Allan Poe's Dupin stories are told from the perspective of Dupin's friend and sidekick, much like the Sherlock Holmes stories are told from the perspective of Watson. Maybe I should have a video talking about it. It's something I'm a big fan of and have a lot of thoughts on. Then received the numbers 12 and 38 from Alexandra at Pages to Write, and the book that I came up with was on a very similar theme to the last one, and it is Starring Sherlock Holmes by David Stuart Davies. Right, I have in here some more Sherlock Holmes memorabilia. This is a programme from a Sherlock Holmes play I went to see by Jeremy Paul, The Secret of Sherlock Holmes, and this was very good. And I'm just discovering that there's a ton of crap in here, and also here is a pressed yellow rose from my 18th birthday, which is also when I got this book. I went down to London around the time of my 18th birthday and went to the Sherlock Holmes Museum, and I had to get a souvenir, and I got this book, and it's fantastic. It's all about the film and television adaptations of Sherlock Holmes, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but Sherlock Holmes is the #1 most adapted into television and movie characters of all time, and nobody has been reimagined and acted by so many different people. Also, the front cover has my all-time favourite Sherlock Holmes, and that is Jeremy Brett. You can keep your Benedict Cumberbatch because Jeremy Brett is the on-screen Sherlock Holmes. And then received the numbers 7 and 19 from Taylor at Taylor Fails, and that was Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. This is a high fantasy novel about dragons, and it has this very own interesting dragon concept where the dragons live in a human form so that they can coexist in the city with the humans, and the humans are aware of this, and obviously there's a bit of tension between the two races. Now this book took me a good 100 pages to get into. I was very on the fence for the first 100 pages, but as soon as I'd consumed those, I couldn't put it down. The rest of it was phenomenal, and it makes up for the slowness of the start. So if you found it difficult to get into, I'd try and at least persevere past the first 100 pages. And the sequel for this book actually comes out in 2015, so that's really exciting. I then received the numbers 13 and 38 from Just Malin at Just Malin's, and that was Thucydides by Donald Kagan. Now, this is a non-fiction book, and Donald Kagan is famous for having written a history of the Peloponnesian War, and this book instead concentrates on the scholar or historian Thucydides, who originally wrote about the Peloponnesian War back in the day when it happened. The Peloponnesian War was the war between the Athenians and the Spartans, and I have to confess I have not read this book cover to cover yet, although it's probably something I should do as it gets really great reviews and it really isn't that long. Okay, now that you have re-brought this book to my attention, I will definitely make an effort to pick it up soon. And last but certainly not least, I received the numbers 2 and 17 from a Twitter handle which I am finding it slightly difficult to pronounce. I'm really sorry. @_CursyBear_, but you chose Say Her Name by James Dawson, which I've definitely mentioned recently, but I don't mind bringing it up again in case you missed it. I actually did a book review of this one, so I'll link that below. And this is a young adult horror novel. This is an ARC copy from Hotkey Books, and that is why the cover looks like this. This is not the cover for the book. I really enjoyed this. It was really good fun. It was based on the Bloody Mary horror story. Definitely check it out if you're looking for something fun and scary to read this October. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye guys!